A controlling, overprotective mother, obsessed with her son, and an ambitious girlfriend with a dark past and many lies. Both are willing to compete, to manipulate, to attack, and to do whatever it takes to come out on top and win the love of a man who is caught in the middle. This is what the series La Novia on Prime Video is about. It's a series that a lot of people are talking about, and I'm not surprised, because every episode is shocking and intriguing. And in this story we can see how possessiveness, trauma, and the fear of abandonment can lead us to commit very dark acts and do downright crazy things. Today, we're going to analyze it. As always, there are spoilers in this video, so if you haven't seen it, watch it because it's worth it. And if you're not going to watch it, here I'll give you a pretty complete summary. I'm Claudia Nicolasa Psicología, a psychologist and author of Es Manipulación y No Lo Sabes. Subscribe to learn psychology through engaging analysis. Let's start by profiling our three main characters, Laura, Daniel, and Sherry. Laura is Daniel's mother and now Sherry's mother-in-law. A strong, determined, and successful woman, owner of an art gallery, and very fit despite her age. She has a very privileged socioeconomic status and outwardly exudes success in life. However, behind closed doors, there are some traumas and unresolved conflicts at home. Her first daughter, Rose, died when she was very little. Laura, instead of leaning on her husband, sought comfort in the arms of an artist with whom she had a romantic affair. All of this caused problems in the marriage, and although they are still together and make family plans, they have an open relationship and neither of them feels fulfilled in it. In this context of grief, having lost a daughter and not having a fulfilling romantic relationship, what Laura does as a solution is to put Daniel, her son, at the center of her life. I've lost my daughter, I'm not happy with my husband, so all my happiness, my well-being, and my purpose in life are invested in my son. Which can be very pathological, as we will see in this story. What happens to Laura is extremely common. Some mothers, when unhappy with their lives, focus entirely on their son, become obsessed with him and everything he does, overprotect him, and do everything for him. Her mood and self-esteem depend on how things are with her son, and if the son is not there, the mother connects with the emptiness of not having cared for and nurtured other things in her life. As I always say, it's healthiest to have several sources of well-being and self-esteem. For example, don't let your partner, your job, or that sport be the only source of support you have in your life. Because if we depend on a single source, not only are we more vulnerable, but we can also make very bad decisions. And be careful, we can become much more easily manipulated, as we'll see happen to Laura. But of course, Laura is not the only victim in this dynamic of dependence. I've spent my whole life
giving you everything you wanted. No, Mom, everything you wanted.
We're talking about her son, Daniel. Daniel comes into a damaged family, to parents who have lost their daughter. In other words, Daniel is born already carrying a burden.
He had to be the perfect son. He also had to be Rose.
You come into our lives to fill the void that Rose has left. Obviously, this isn't something the parents think consciously, nor is it something they communicate explicitly. But when a trauma isn't worked through and resolved, it can lead us unconsciously to place our children in certain dynamics and roles. And Daniel's role is to be that people-pleasing son.
I've done everything to make you happy. Don't upset Mom. You can't handle it.
Mom's emotional crutch. Daniel has learned to please, to be perfect, to not know how to set boundaries, and to always say yes to that female figure he has to keep happy.
My education, the trips, even the clothes I wear. You've controlled my whole life.
But of course, let's remember that Daniel isn't just born to a hurt mother. He's born to a scared mother who has experienced what it's like to suddenly lose a child. And so it's understandable that she lives with that constant fear that someday something bad might happen to him too. I personally have experienced what it's like to lose someone suddenly, and it's hard to get rid of that ghost that whispers to you from time to time. And what if this is the last time you're going to see that person? What if something happens to them? That poorly managed ghost can lead us to overprotect, which is actually a euphemism for controlling.
I just wanted to protect myself.
No, what you wanted was to control me.
Because in order to protect someone from all the possible dangers in the world, sooner or later you end up controlling them. This is one of the profiles of fear-driven manipulators that I analyze in my book. That person who is so afraid of life, of the bad things that can happen, of a loved one suffering or something happening to them, that even with the best intentions, unintentionally ends up manipulating that loved one. They keep them from living, going out, exploring, growing, and pursuing their desires and dreams.
I have to stand at the edge of a cliff to feel even a little bit free.
And remember that, even if it's done with good intentions, if it causes harm, it's manipulation. And indeed, Laura, without realizing it, manipulates her son Daniel. Despite being 27 years old and having a lot of money, Laura does everything she can to keep Daniel from becoming independent. I'm really fine.
Don't worry. Stop worrying so much, it's just a scratch.
The boy is about to be an orthopedic surgeon.
He controls her decisions about where to live, what to do for a living, how to dress, and as we'll see later on, he tricks his son into believing that his new girlfriend, Sherry, has ghosted him after he has a serious accident that almost ends his life. Now let's talk about Sherry, and I'm sure those of you who have seen the series are eager for me to talk about her. Sherry is also a woman around 27 years old. She's sexy, rebellious, wild, daring, and attractive. Unlike Daniel, who was born into a very wealthy family, she comes from more humble origins, with a mother who was a butcher and a father who was a bricklayer who left them in financial ruin. However, despite her origins, Sherry doesn't give up. She's ambitious, hardworking, and focused. However, she sees that people around her who are less capable and put in less effort than she does have it easier. And that only increases her anger and her sense of injustice, and how far she's willing to go to achieve everything she deserves. But don't be fooled by her charms. Her efforts and sacrifices aren't just focused on her career. Sherry has, let's say, a dark past. She pushed her father off some scaffolding, leaving him completely paralyzed. She stalked and assaulted a wealthy ex-boyfriend who broke up with her.
When she sinks her claws in, she doesn't let go. She was always a bit intense. That was kind of charming at first, but when I broke up with her, she went crazy.
She sabotaged her wedding. She lies about who she is, about her life. She hurts herself to play the victim and make her mother-in-law look like a monster.
We got a restraining order.
She started spreading rumors about me, manipulating everything. She's a fucking psychopath.
If she doesn't get her way, she loses it.
Clearly, we're dealing with a psychopathic profile. She doesn't feel guilt, she doesn't feel remorse, she doesn't feel empathy. Her driving force in life is power, money, and status. And she resorts to seduction, sex, emotional blackmail, and manipulation to get what she wants. Sherry's own mother warns Laura about how dangerous her daughter is.
When she decides on something, don't get in her way or God help you.
How bad must your behavior be for your own mother to be afraid of you and warn the world about you?
I hope you aren't the old Sherry again. You used to scare me.
However, here's part of the problem. Sherry's mother has always protected her and covered up her crimes.
If the police come asking about the afternoon of the 26th, say that I spent the whole day with you.
No one wants to see their son in jail, that's just how it is. But if their actions don't have legal and social consequences, it will definitely make that feeling of deserving everything, of expecting special treatment, of omnipotence even worse. As I always tell you, even though primary psychopathy has no cure, setting boundaries, having consequences, and applying punishments at least teach the person with psychopathy that doing harm will end up hurting them, even if they don't feel bad when they hurt other people.
He doesn't know who you are. I won't lie for you this time. I shouldn't have done it years ago. I haven't helped you.
At least he's going to stop doing it to avoid the negative consequences. And in this story, his new victim is Daniel. An attractive, kind, well-mannered man with a good job and a lot of money is the solution to all her problems and desires. A real catch, an opportunity Cherry would never let slip away, and for which she will even be willing to make her boyfriend kill his own mother. In this series, we see that Cherry cries and falls apart when she thinks Daniel has died. But of course, this isn't real love. In the series, we see Cherry cry and fall apart when Laura makes her believe that Daniel has died. But don't be fooled by those tears. Does it hurt Cherry to have lost Daniel? Yes. Does that mean her love is genuine, empathetic, and deep? No. Cherry is crying because she thinks she's lost her chance. Why do we love each other?
What do you want? It's not love, just ambition. He doesn't know you.
Because Daniel took care of her, protected her, flattered her, did everything she wanted, and was the gateway to a lifestyle she longs for. This is the way people with psychopathy love. They don't love you unconditionally, with empathy and respect. They love what they can get from you. It's instrumental. And obviously, it hurts and bothers them to lose you if you were giving them something they care about. Alright, now that we have the three protagonists of this love triangle psychologically profiled, let's start analyzing the plot. The first episode starts with mother and son at the pool. It's not common for an older lady to be so strong, playing around, hugging, complimenting each other. I, who still had no idea what the show was about, thought they were a couple. Subtitled. I love you. I think that says it all. A few weeks ago, I posted a video discussing this topic. Why are there mothers and sons who have strange relationships, almost with romantic overtones, where the son is replacing that emotional figure the mother is missing? If you haven't seen it, I recommend it so you'll better understand this story. Clearly, Laura is making Daniel fill a role that isn't his. He is her source of well-being, he is her romantic partner, and for her, no woman will ever be good enough for her prince. In fact, she makes fun of the previous women Daniel has introduced to her, but Daniel says, "This one is different. You remind me of her." And Laura replies,
Or she reminds you of me.
"I always tell you to pay close attention to the words people choose because they tell us a lot about what's inside them." And Laura here is clearly trying to protect that hierarchy. How could I remind you of her? I'm the original, the main one. I'm the one you need to find, not the other way around. Right from the start, there's a shady dynamic between Daniel and Laura. She makes us see that no matter how perfect and wonderful the girlfriend Daniel brings is, she probably won't be fully welcomed in this pathological system. But if we add to that the fact that the girlfriend is a liar, ambitious, and a manipulative psychopath, well, the mix is explosive. Daniel invites Cherry over to meet his family. She, determined to secure her prey, has been researching the family, the money they have, buys expensive clothes, and invents a fake life to fit in. However, even though she's very well prepared, Cherry quickly realizes that her prey is on guarded territory.
Are you sure she isn't also a stripper?
She has a formidable rival who's sizing her up, catching her lies, and isn't going to make things easy for her. A rival who can threaten what she desires most. So Cherry quickly decides to mark her territory with the tools she has as a psycho girlfriend. She keeps touching Daniel, caressing him, kissing him in front of his parents, and even gives him a blowjob in front of Laura. What is Cherry doing? Like a good woman, the psychopath uses one of her most powerful resources, sexuality. Throughout the series, we can see that every time Cherry needs to regain control over Daniel's behavior, she resorts to sexualizing herself. For example, at the opening of an exhibition at Laura's art gallery, she turns Daniel on so that he wants to leave early and ditch his mother there. This has a big impact on Laura because it's not at all typical of Daniel. What Cherry is doing here is a manipulation technique that I call the ladder in my book. Manipulators, especially dark ones like Cherry, lead their victims in the direction they want by gradually getting them to make bigger and bigger concessions so that their boundaries keep shrinking.
Can't they give you space? You're 27 and on vacation with your girlfriend.
No, my girlfriend is on vacation with my...
Instead of directly asking you to cut your mother out of your life,
You should come to Spain with us.
With your family? I thought we didn't like people.
little by little, I'm making you miss family commitments, making you set your priorities aside and prioritize me instead. I'm making you adopt behaviors and attitudes you didn't have before so that I get you closer and closer to the point where I want you to be. A point that sooner or later will stop seeming so serious or so blatant to you because step by step you've been getting closer.
I've fallen off my bike before. I'm fine. Daniel, Mom.
It's your little wound from yesterday. Mommy didn't kiss it better. You know it was a bit gross.
Of course, if Cherry asked Daniel to take his mother's life for her in the first few days, he would say, "You're crazy."
I don't think so. He just enjoys caring for others.
But after climbing the whole staircase, it stops being such a crazy idea. Anyway, let's go back to the beginning. The psychological warfare is felt from the very start. Daniel says he's thinking about changing his medical specialty, and Laura, being the controlling mother she is, disapproves of him making a decision on his own without her approval. After catching Cherry in several lies, he also built things as an architect.
And his name, and if he's read any of his work. We'll find something online, right?
She sees how this is helping her son become more independent and quote-unquote make bad decisions. And what does Laura do then? She punishes her by throwing sauce on her dress. And what does Cherry do? She punishes her by making her cat disappear. Both of them start a standoff, a cold war that only the two of them are aware of. Poor Daniel has no idea what's going on.
My two favorite women.
Because of course, if either of them says anything about what's happening and points at the other, she'll look like the bad one and lose that psychological war.
I'm just trying to protect.
You're overwhelming me.
Okay, so it's time to act from the shadows. That's something Cherry is an expert at, while Laura is a bit clumsier. Cherry, being the psychopath she is, resorts to playing the victim, and specifically to preemptive self-victimization. She knows that sooner or later, Laura will tell Daniel about her past. So, strategically, she prepares the ground so that he receives the information in a biased way. She tells him she has an ex-boyfriend who was violent and controlling and is dangerous, obsessed with her and spreading rumors.
Bad ones. He is spreading those rumors about me.
To break up their relationship. When Laura confronts her in secret, Cherry dramatizes her pain and her victim role when she sees Daniel coming down the hallway.
I don't get why you're doing this. Why? Why do you want to hurt me?
Listen to me, don't let yourself be fooled. A psychopathic woman will always or almost always take on the role of the victim. Because that, combined with being young and attractive, or on top of that, being the mother of a small child, makes it very hard for people to believe that someone like that could be malicious. There is a significant gender bias when it comes to female psychopathy. Laura sees how Cherry's dark manipulation works. She notices her son becoming more and more trapped and more distant. A few months after meeting her, he proposes marriage. And the urgency, the desperation, the fear, the pressure, and the lack of resources gradually make Laura lose control, act impulsively and irrationally. She makes very bad decisions, and those around her increasingly see her as a problematic person.
Your obsession with Daniel and your dislike of her come from your fear of being replaced. I know this is tied to your trauma and pain over Rob.
And in this loop of desperation, Laura ends up manipulating her son in a very cold way, bordering on dark manipulation, thus becoming the villain of the story. Let me tell you. Daniel's birthday is coming up, and mother and son have always had a tradition for this day, having dinner in Chinatown and watching a musical together. When Cherry finds out about this, she quickly makes up a story that she had already booked a climbing trip for that day. It's something she hates and had refused to do when Daniel asked her. And of course, now is the perfect time to use that emotional blackmail card. See? She was willing to do something you really wanted just to please you. Be careful with this kind of attitude. It's a technique that manipulators usually use when they want to make you change your mind or alter your plans. Just by coincidence, when you tell them you have something in mind or a plan, they suddenly say they were going to do something for you or give you something you've been asking for a long time. On that exact day. What a coincidence. Once again, Cherry is using that latter technique and marking her territory. Do you two have a lifelong tradition together? Well, of course, I have to break it to show that now I'm here, that now I'm the priority, I'm the girlfriend. As this escalates, Daniel has an accident and falls into a coma, and the doctors tell Laura that he will inevitably pass away. After receiving many calls from Cherry and not wanting her near during her son's last hours, Laura tells her that Daniel has already passed away, but miraculously he recovers. A few days later, Laura goes to Daniel's house where Cherry is living to tell her that he has recovered. That is, she still acts rationally and morally. But when she arrives, she finds out that they had gotten engaged on the day of the accident and makes a decision that will condemn her forever. She hides from Cherry that Daniel is alive and sets up a whole Machiavellian scheme so that Daniel believes Cherry broke up with him in a cruel way, that she disappeared and abandoned him at his most vulnerable moment. She takes him to Spain, isolates him, changes Cherry's contact information and phone number, and coldly comforts her son, who is heartbroken. She lies to the whole family. This works for her for a while, but it's clearly a lie and a weak manipulation. It's obvious she doesn't have the expertise that Cherry has. Daniel and Cherry live in the same city, move in similar circles, and have people in common. Sooner or later, her lie would be exposed, but the urgency and desperation to do something to save her son blind her and bring out her darkest side. And here lies the difference between Laura and Cherry, which explains why Cherry, not Laura, ends up winning this psychological war. Both are manipulative women who sooner or later end up hurting those around them. But while Cherry is a dark manipulator who knows what she's doing, plans it, and uses manipulation to get something she wants, Laura is a gray manipulator who doesn't have an instrumental goal. She doesn't manipulate to get something, but rather follows an emotional impulse to protect her son. A prisoner of her unresolved traumas and shortcomings, she gradually falls into the mental traps of manipulation, both Cherry's and her own. And the thing is, Cherry, being the skilled dark manipulator that she is, knows how to handle Laura and how to lead her to a situation where she will end up coming off as the villain and others will want to distance themselves from her, even to the point of losing her son and losing her own life. And this is something I really emphasize in my book. Dark manipulators know how to detect your vulnerabilities, your fears, your shortcomings, your traumas, and they know how to take advantage of them to make you lose control. What happened to you? Do you realize what you've lost? Your damn empathy. They know how to confuse and lead you wherever they want. Then what? The less aware you are of your own vulnerability, the easier it is for them to take advantage of it, and you won't even realize it. They'll have even more power over you because they're seeing something in you that you haven't been able to detect or work on yourself. So introspection, self-awareness, and therapy are great protectors against manipulation. This is very important. If Laura had healed her fear of loneliness, her fear of losing Daniel, if she had worked on her communication, her transparency, her honesty with her husband, the story probably would have turned out differently. And here, I want to mention something very important. We can't always protect the people we love when we see they're about to make bad decisions. Sometimes the best way to help them is to let them learn. Give them space to make mistakes and at the same time remain with open arms to welcome and support them without judging when they recognize their mistake. Many times, when we see a loved one making a mistake, our instinct is to force, confront, control, or dissuade them. But for someone to truly change their mind, they have to feel that it's their own decision. That this change, that this decision comes from their own desire and not from someone else's. And especially, this becomes even more relevant in the case of Daniel, who feels that he has never been able to act on his own desires in his life. That he has always acted according to his mother's wishes, to someone else's desires. And now that he has met the woman he believes is perfect, a woman who is also rebellious, independent, confident, wild, who represents what he wishes he could be, even if just a little, and who is also manipulating him. Well, this time he is not willing to give in to his mother's wishes. And what he does is cover his eyes, close his ears, and rebel against everything his mother tells him. This, my friends, is the beginning of reactance. When we feel that someone is imposing something on us, we may want exactly the opposite. When in reality, maybe, if we hadn't felt that imposition, we would have wanted what they want us to want. This, for example, Cherry is very good at this. At one point, after pretending that Laura broke a glass over her head, she uses reverse psychology with Daniel. She pretends that she wants to break up and stay away completely because she's afraid of Laura. I love you. But no. What? No, wait. And that's when Daniel, seeing that he's about to lose Cherry, says, "No, don't go. I choose you. I'm going to stop talking to my mother." If Cherry had told him, "Stop talking to your mother or you'll lose me," it wouldn't have been as effective. It has to seem like he's the one making that decision because Cherry knows how to sense that Daniel needs to feel like he's the one choosing. And he chooses Cherry so much that he ends up taking his mother's life by accident, in exactly the same way the series begins. The two of them in the pool. Daniel marries Cherry, they're expecting a child, and thanks to the kitten he finds one of his mother's phones where he finds videos and audio recordings that prove his mother's warnings were absolutely true. I don't know if there will be a second season, but Daniel has definitely gotten himself into quite a mess. And I don't know how he'll deal with the guilt of having ended his mother's life to protect Cherry, especially now that he sees she was really trying to protect him. But something I've loved about this series and its love triangle is that it lets us see both perspectives of the same story. It lets us see the war from both sides. And this is something I love as a psychologist. Each episode we see it from Laura's point of view and from Cherry's point of view. And the thing is, both Laura and Cherry believe they're right and that their actions are justified. On one hand, Cherry feels she deserves the life she can get through Daniel. She loves Daniel because he treats her well and for what she gains from the relationship. Remember, psychopaths love in an instrumental way. Cherry doesn't think she's a bad person. She doesn't believe that pushing her father and all the things she's done are wrong. She considers herself simply an ambitious person who is willing to get everything she sets her mind to, and that those people who are not fair to her will be punished. Her violent and dark actions are justified because they are people who have hurt her. And of course, Cherry from the beginning sees how her classist and controlling mother-in-law doesn't accept her as a daughter-in-law and won't let go of her son. She feels like she's being dehumanized. She thinks her mother-in-law is an annoying woman who needs to be gotten out of the way. On the other hand, Laura really believes she's doing the right thing by protecting her son this way. After detecting lies and a dark past in her daughter-in-law, she feels she has to do whatever it takes to save her little boy. which is perfect to justify her need to not let go of her son and not cut that umbilical cord. Her son making his own decisions, to make mistakes, learn, and take his own path. God forbid. If something bad happens to my son, it shakes me to my core, so I act irrationally. And the thing is, rarely does a person think they're bad or that they're doing things that are wrong. Manipulative people believe they're doing the right thing, that the end justifies the means, that they're doing it for a good cause, that they deserve it, or that the other person is the bad one, or even worse. I'll put my book link in the comments so you can learn more about manipulation. Let me know your thoughts on this series and analysis in the comments. See you in the next video. Bye.